Good day, David from We Paint Ottawa.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So, David, I hear that you have a lot of experience with painting. Tell me a bit of your history with painting.
Well, I started out as a painter.
Yep.
And did new builds, did all custom homes, did all kinds of painting. And then when my shoulders gave out on me, I actually worked for Sherwin-Williams as a business development manager, which gave me a lot of insight into the chemical background of paint, which has proved to be very helpful. Then I went on to do estimating for a large company for a few years, which was great. Just in and out of people's homes, really evaluating and developing my own system, my own way of estimating. And then I created my own estimating tool. And here we are with We Paint Ottawa.
Nice. And when we chatted a while back, you mentioned approximately how many estimates you sensed you'd done over your career. Remind the audience.
Tell the audience. In the last 5 years, I've probably done about 6,000 or 7,000.
So that's 1,000.
Yeah,
not hundreds.
No, thousands. Everything from decks to exterior stucco to stipple removal to custom houses to new builds.
Nice. So that's lots of experience that comes with that.
Yes.
Obviously, from both in estimating and understanding the product, which is awesome for clients. One of the things that impressed me when you and I, because you're a DORE property management preferred vendor, one of the things that really impressed me when we had initial talks is how you will want to understand what the client is actually seeking to do, so that you can cater your estimate. So obviously, and we'll go down, the different aspects of it. But obviously, if somebody is, whether they're looking to, it's their forever home, they're looking to have their home painted, it's a brand new house, they need, just the initial paint, whether it's a realtor, seeking to prep a house for sale, or a property manager like us that has rental properties, they're looking for, an economical way of doing things. That was always impressive to me because I've never heard anybody, ask those questions. So just fill us in, if I own my own home and, it's my forever home, tell me a bit about how that looks like from your angle.
Well, it's asking the questions. That's the most important thing. Once you know exactly what the client wants, then you can cater to them. And I actually do a la carte estimates where basically I paint what needs to be painted and not necessarily everything. So why they pay for something they don't need? I don't do square footage estimates. Square footage means I'm doing the whole thing. Then you get into gray areas with clients. You get uncomfortable situations. Was this supposed to be painted? Was that supposed to be painted? When I do an estimate, every room is itemized. Every area is itemized. Every room has baseboards, door frames, window sills, ceilings, closets. These are all things. Everything has a dollar value. So people love it. Everyone, whether it be somebody preparing their house for sale in a real estate situation, or somebody painting their forever home, or painting a home to go on the market, everybody has a budget. So by having an a la carte system that I've developed, I can get exactly what they need to get done for a price that they can afford.
Nice. And also in my understanding as well, is that if you're getting somebody's forever home where they're looking for, high quality, then you actually have the painters that offer this type of service, because obviously not everybody paints the same way. So I'm assuming that you also have painters that have a higher, threshold of quality that you bring to the table for those contracts. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yes. Now I am spoiled. The painters that are part of We Paint Ottawa are people that I've known. Some of them I've known for 15 years. I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses, but I'm spoiled with the quality that I have.
Yeah.
But yes, there are certain high-end jobs that we need certain painters to do, and that's where the experience comes in. My job is to set the client up for success, but it's also to set my painters up for success.
Nice. And if you're, speaking to realtors out there, obviously if somebody's a realtor and they have clients, they need to showcase a home, and there's some very specific things they want to do. Obviously, sometimes it's cost sensitive, sometimes it's time sensitive. Like, how do you cater the services of painting to a realtor that has a listing and needs help for very specific things, which would be different, right?
A good realtor is going to have an idea of what the budget that their client is ready to put into it. Once I have that idea, then a lot of the realtors I work with will actually send me in. They'll set me up to telling the client I'm coming, and I'll go in there and I attack the weaknesses. So if I know that it's really budget, we have real budget constraints, then obviously it's a curb appeal. It's the entrance of the house. It's making sure that you get that wow factor right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what the most important thing
Yeah,
is.
and I think for realtors, obviously, in my experience anyways, the speed of trust, having somebody that they can rely on that's going to get the job done. If they promise they're going to get it done, it'll be done and be done on time. And the experience I've had speaking with realtors that have used your services is that you've been highly recommended when it comes to that.
I've had situations where there's been a mix-up with other paint companies that were supposed to paint something, and at the very last minute, a realtor has called and said, "Can you help me out?" Painted a 3-bedroom, 2-story house in 24 hours. I had 9 painters in there, and we got it done. Worked all night. That's I have a very loyal group of painters.
Yeah,
and I can accommodate basically anything.
Yeah, and that's why we love you here at DORE Property Management. So obviously, also, and I mean, obviously, we at DORE we manage rental properties. So needless to say, sometimes we get turnover for tenants, and we're trying to be cost sensitive to the clients we represent, the owners of these investment properties. And in some cases, obviously, going in for a paint job, you only want to do what is necessary, not necessarily full gut job. So my understanding and our experience anyways has been that you would cater the services to just the spots that need to get done, and not go all out and repaint the whole house if it doesn't need to be redone.
What's really important in that situation is to get a bit of an idea of what the turnover is.
Mm-hmm.
Does this particular condo, is it every 2 years? Is it every 3 years? Does this homeowner want something that's going to be a long term? They'd rather wait to have the person that's there for 10 years.
Yep.
It's very important because there are certain types of paint that touch up very well. So if someone's in there for 2 years, they're very careful. There might be little touch-ups where the sofa hit the wall. So therefore it's going to be very inexpensive.
Yep.
Paint exactly what needs to be done, but it looks great. Other times it's going to be, and I'm sure certain condos can be trashed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
But there's certain paints that touch up very easily. You can get $110 a gallon of paint. That's wonderful, but you can't touch it up at all. But you'll get something that is, so I have to, this is where some experience comes in. I can gear the paint, the type of paint I'm using, to the situations that's there.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that's obviously, we appreciate that, because obviously, from turnover to turnover, obviously these can tend to be expensive. So for landlords, we're trying to keep the cost down. So it's nice that we have your eyes and ears looking out for our best interests. So thank you. My understanding also is that you'll work with restoration companies as well. So when it comes to having timely service, having crews, I know you and I have chatted a while back where on one day you had like multiple crews, 4 or 5 different crews working on different projects all simultaneously. So my understanding is that even for restoration companies, you're somewhat favored with some of them to come in and provide that service. So can you speak a bit about your flexibility and taking on restoration jobs, larger jobs, timely services, working through different insurance companies or so on?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because to be honest, there are certain restoration companies that I won't work with because of their lack of organization. Okay, if you have to do a quick restoration of something, you could have drywallers, you could have flooring people, plus the painter, everybody working together. So you need to make sure that everybody is respectful and being able to facilitate the job.
Yeah.
Different people go into different areas. If someone's doing flooring in room 1, then we're painting in room 2. And we vice versa. But working with restoration companies, because there are so many different things going on at the same time, having that great project manager that looks after everything makes it go. That's the key.
Yeah, so that's good. Hopping on to something different, one thing obviously in the We Paint Ottawa name, I know that you offer stipple removal services, and it's not noticeable when we look at the company name, but my understanding is a big part of the services that you offer are the stipple removal services. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Absolutely. Very lucky to have two of the best stipple removers in Ottawa. They're clean, they're efficient. We promote it as a dustless. There is going to be some construction dust, but we use a machine called a festool, which actually sands and vacuums at the same time.
I've seen that, yeah.
And so that really makes things better. But that is a large part of our job, our company. It could be up to 40% of our work at times.
Okay, good to know. And also, how does someone know if they can paint, stipple ceilings, or like how does that work? Because I know there's a bit of magic or experience that comes down the pipes when it comes to deciding if you're painting stipple or stipple ceilings.
Yes. So, and it is an experience thing. If it's a new build, the stipple really has been blown on in the beginning, never painted after, and there might be a leak in an upstairs bathroom. Okay, you cannot roll that; it has to be sprayed. So you have to know exactly how to put plastic on everything, cover absolutely everything in the walls to make sure that you're getting this done. Sometimes you'll get some of the houses down in the glebe that are those older, beautiful houses, and they've been painted. The ceiling's been painted 20 times.
Sure,
it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So how does one choose a painting contractor? Because I mean, obviously there's estimates. Everybody provides estimates, but how does one choose a painting contractor when you're being compared to others in the market?
I believe you have to get the instant trust. For me, it's a matter of I have a very precise process. And I stick to my process. And that starts from the first time people get in touch with me, to doing the site visit, to creating an estimate that's a reflection of our discussions. The next day I'll follow up, not to ask for the sale, to make sure that everything was clear. You don't want to rush people into it. So that's what I do. I think it's very important. You don't want someone that's going to try to push you into painting it. So I think if 5 people give estimates, I need to differentiate myself. Arrive on time, arrive with a clean car, listen, make sure my estimate is a reflection of our conversation. And then once I do get the job, deliver what you promise. Nice.
And my understanding also is that you use subcontractors to assist We Paint in catering to all clients that come in at the same time. Can you speak? Is that good or bad?
That's a very interesting question. There are very few paint contractors out there now that do not use subcontractors. But there's different ways to use subcontractors. There are companies, the majority they do the estimate, they email it through to the subcontractor, they sign off on it, and they arrive at the house and they do it. That's not what I do. I have a process where I book the job, I contact the appropriate subcontractor, I send everything through to them, including the client contract. We discuss it on the phone, but most importantly, I arrive with them the first day. Where things go off the tracks with most companies is that there's a disconnect between the person doing the estimate and the person that's doing the job. So I am that link between it, and that's the key. So my painter will go around the house with the same contract as the client has. They walk around room by room, item by item. We are doing baseboards here, we're doing doors here, we're doing this. So everybody is on the same page. I may have made a mistake. I may have forgotten a closet.
Sure.
That's the time we pick it up right there.
Right.
So that link is there from day one. And I don't really do a whole lot. I just follow behind, making sure that my painter and that client are they're absolutely on the same page.
Yeah. So even though that, in some cases you're using subcontractors, it's not a two-tiered system where you're the estimator and somebody goes in, paints, and nobody knows what's happening. You're involved in the process
Absolutely.
entirely, whether you're using subs or not, and so the client gets to interact with you directly if they have any questions, concerns,
Absolutely.
or questions. So,
and we also have an app as well. So at the beginning of each day, like I obviously can't be everywhere all the time, but we have an app. At the end of the day, the painter will put on the app their estimated time of completion. The client needs to know. I need to know. I make sure I'm in there 24 hours before the end of the project. And I go around. If I am much more difficult to deal with errors than the client would be.
Yep.
So I go around, I make sure that it is perfection.
Nice.
And then by the time the client goes around, it's already been looked at by 6 sets of eyes.
Yep, that's awesome. That's great. Thank you. Can you explain to me the process when you're painting in the area or home, like the cover, scuff, sand, first coat, scuff, final top coat? Like what is that? You've told me this several times, but explain to the audience exactly what that means. Like what is that process and why?
Something that's often left out of a process with painters. A, they want to rush it through. B, the person doing the estimate or the owner of the company like me doesn't give the time to do it. Whether we like it or not, even in the most expensive paint, you will have debris in the paint. Okay? So when you go in, one of the first things I do when I do an estimate is I run my hand on the wall. And inevitably there's burrs on the wall. If you go home today, you run your hand over the wall, Dan, in your house, you're going to see burrs. That could have been the initial contract when it was originally painted, or it could have been a subsequent paint job that was done.
Sure.
By the painters going in there, sanding all the walls, putting the first coat of paint on, sanding it all again, and then most of the time, depending on, by then we know what kind of paint, whether we have a good batch or not. If we think there's any questions, we'll actually strain the paint for the third coat.
Oh, really?
To make sure.
Interesting. Oh,
that's just, it's a step in our process that all my people do, all my subcontractors do. If they're working for me, they're going to do it. I don't really care what they do with other people. This is what they're doing with me.
No, that's fair. That's good. So we hit pretty much all of what we consider indoor painting, and trying to hit those points. So in the next segment, we're going to be hitting exterior painting and staining. Thank you.
Appreciate it.